Hello, everyone who's listening. My name is Hannah, and I'm a public relations and professional communications student, and also ACCUO's communication intern for about 7 weeks. This will be the first of a few interviews with established ombudspeople at post-secondary institutions across Canada. Joining me today is Shirley Nakata, who is UBC Vancouver's Ombudsperson. Thank you for meeting with me today, Shirley.
My pleasure.
So tell me a little bit about your work, how long you've been working there, and what your responsibilities are on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, I started at UBC as the Ombudsperson in 2009, and I had the privilege of establishing the Ombuds Office. So with a history of graduate students and undergraduate students lobbying the university for an ombuds office, a university ombuds office. After 3 presidents, finally the president who hired me relented and the office was established just for the Vancouver office. And as you know, we have an Okanagan office that was opened, I believe it was in 2013. So we have a team of 3, Cindy Leonard, Ombuds Officer at the Okanagan, Michelle Quigg, Ombuds Officer in Vancouver, and our team of 3. We serve, I would say, approximately 66,000 students across those 2 main campuses and other satellite campuses as well.
Wow, that's a lot. I didn't realize how many students there were.
Yeah, so I think it's about 55-ish on the Vancouver campus, about 10,000-ish on the Okanagan campus.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's exciting.
It's a lot, and I think we've got, I would say that our proportion of graduate students to undergraduate students, I think it's about 15 to 20% of our student population are graduate students. But it's been interesting over the past 10, 11 years that our caseload has been disproportionately represented by grad students and grad student issues. Yeah, so you know, they're more complex. They've got different stake in the game, not only because of their age, sometimes they have families, but they have different kinds of relationships at the university, that one-to-one with their supervisors, and the kinds of careers that they want to get into. Can put them sometimes in a precarious state when things don't go as planned. So yeah, so we do work a lot with grad students on a day-to-day. Because I have such wonderful colleagues I work with, they are the first point of contact for all student inquiries. So Michelle and Cindy are interacting with students every day, daily. I deal with some directly as well, but most of my work is at the systemic level. So in conversing and discussing individual cases with the 2 ombuds officers, we try to problem solve, find different ways of moving things forward. But it's through those conversations that we can identify and glean gaps, challenges, areas where we have to try to move forward for systemic improvements. So those are the kinds of issues that we're trying to work at, and my time is mostly spent on, is in terms of advancing those systemic issues and highlighting them for senior leadership.
That sounds very complex.
It's navigating something as at a big university like UBC. Mm-hmm. It's we don't move that quickly, so
yeah. Well, these things need to be done. And do you have a role in ACCUO?
Nothing sort of really ongoing. I mean, currently right now I'm on the awards committee. I'm also on the EDI committee that has been newly established. And then I guess off and on, our office has helped organize the Western regional meetings. So that's been fun as well.
Okay. And I hear that your particular interests lie in impartiality. So what exactly does it mean for an ombudsperson to be impartial?
Yeah, you know, impartiality is one of the cornerstones, I think, for ombuds practice, both actual and perceived. It's the value that we can bring in terms of providing a safe space where whoever comes to talk to us is confident that they can share their issues and concerns and not be judged. Understand that we are neither advocates for them nor for the university, and that what they will receive when they come to us is an open, non-judgmental listening space where they can talk about everything freely and get some balanced, clear, and helpful advice on options on how to move forward. If we were not impartial, or if we were impartial but people didn't believe us to be impartial, that would be sort of like a death knell for the Ombuds service, because we would not be able to maintain that credibility for the population that we serve, but also for the university that puts their trust in us about what we do as an ombuds and what our ombuds mandate is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that the office is independent, so students know that you're not working for the university and it's a place that they can come to where, yeah, you'll just be impartial and listen to their concerns without judgment.
Yeah, and you know, that's not to say that it's easy to do, because we're all human beings and we all have our own biases. And you know, there are times when you listen to one side of the story, because we only usually get one side of the story. We're not conducting an investigation. And you know, as a human being, you have an initial reaction. And for us, the practice and the discipline is in holding back and keeping an open mind, believing what the student is telling us, and pulling in those pieces that we know about policies, procedures, practices, the systems that come into play for the student, and then giving them the best advice and the capacity and confidence to explore options in a way that will move them forward constructively.
Mm-hmm. There must be a lot to know about university policy. It sounds very confusing.
It is so confusing. And then students will come to us and say, well, I don't understand what this policy is and what this process is. And we'll go, okay, well, let us look that up for you. And we can't find it. Or we read it and we think, holy moly, we don't understand a word of what that means. So that's part of the input. We would say, you know, if policies and procedures aren't accessible to students, then they're not fair. So that's the kind of feedback that we would try to provide to the university.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a student, I can tell you that you know a lot more about policy than we do.
Well, I hope you don't need to know that much about the policy, that you would never need to know about certain policies. But the interesting thing is, I know, I'm not sure with other institutions, but when students register and you become a student, you're clicking that you have accepted all the terms in the academic calendar, which is almost impossible to do because you can't understand or read all of them.
I know, and it's so hard to like look through the website and try to find what exactly you're looking for and who can help you, and then you call these people and they're like, well, we don't really know, go to this person. So it's great that there's an office there who kind of knows like who knows what and where to go to get all these answers.
Yeah, and I think what we're hearing from students is a lot of the offices have the emails like info@, so you never get a name of a person. And sometimes what we can do is, if students don't get the response in a timely and meaningful way, we might be able to find the right person to connect them with, although we may not phone them or help them to fix their problem. We can connect them to the right place and the right people.
Yeah, and just put them in the right direction at least.
Exactly.
So is there anything that led you to be particularly drawn to impartiality and equity and inclusion?
You know, when I started, because I really had no background in ombuds work, I did a lot of sort of research around what is an ombuds and what are the concepts, how am I going to build up my office? And I did read a lot of literature, and a lot of times ombuds are described as being confidential, independent, but also neutral. So when I was establishing our sort of website and all our brochures, I kept using those words: confidential, independent, neutral. And I was lucky enough that a former BC ombudsperson was working at UBC at the time and was an amazing sounding board for me. And, you know, he said, well, try to reconsider the use of the word neutral, and think of how the word impartial can convey something a little bit different. And over the years, I've been able to sort of look into different kinds of disciplines, anything from the legal field all the way through to brain research, that leads me to fully believe that no one is really neutral, nor should we be neutral. We need to be impartial, but those are very different constructs. And sort of delving more and more into that, finding cases, especially legal cases from in Canada, that talk about the concept of impartiality that cannot be separated out from our personal lived experiences, our own biases, our education, what they've called this sort of process of enlargement that we bring to any situation as impartial. So in that case, they were talking about judges needing to be impartial, and the need was not to be a blank slate, but to understand that in Canada, impartiality can take into account principles of equality and inclusivity, a diverse population, gender, race, ability, all those things we can take into account, and we can still be impartial. So that's fit really well for us at the Ombuds Office at UBC because of our commitments to EDI, our commitments to advancing the Indigenous Strategic Plan and indigeneity, and the recent commitments that our president and the university has made towards anti-racism. So in that way, fairness fits in really, really well, including the concept of impartiality with equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm. And I hear you talk about law. You do have a background in law, right?
Yes.
That will help a little bit. I know that there are many ombuds who have backgrounds in law. I think most ombuds people.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, that's the great thing about the ombuds field. You bring in so many different people. There's really not a track or the perfect educational or experiential background, I don't think. So I think we just attract people who want to be helpers, helping professions. So yeah, lawyers, because I guess in Canada, procedural fairness is such a major construct in ombuds work. But everything from, we have former nurses, social workers, teachers, faculty members, engineers, people in marketing. There's a breadth of people who are attracted to the field.
That kind of segues into the next question, which is, if you had any advice for people who are new to the ombuds world or are interested in the profession, what would that be?
You know, I think because of the diversity of the educational, lived experiences, sort of a lot of people choosing ombuds as a second or third career, I wouldn't say anything about what kind of background you would need. But as anybody who might be interested in the ombuds field and working in it, I would probably just say that never hold back or fear bringing all of yourself into the role, that you don't have to be a particular type of person or communicate in a particular type of way. It's that as long as you have this central commitment and a deep passion for fairness, and you care about how people are treated, and especially you care about how the individual person needs to navigate and is often disadvantaged in the power differential and the power relationship with an institution or an agency or another body that has decision-making powers over them. As long as you have those kinds of values, I think anyone would enjoy ombuds work. And you will bring more value to that job if you bring yourself as a whole person and not ever fear that your lived experiences might be detrimental to it. In fact, unless we continue to diversify the ombuds people who do these kinds of jobs and interact with the diverse populations that we do, we won't be able to maintain our relevance in the coming years and decades of the kinds of societal challenges that we're seeing most recently as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've definitely learned a lot in the past couple of weeks about just how many different kinds of people come into this role. Like I've met so many different ombuds people at different universities, and everybody is so different, which I think is great.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it's the diversity that's our strength. And I do think that, you know, maybe I'm biased, but ombuds people are probably the nicest people I've ever met across provinces, across our borders, internationally. There's sort of a spark in terms of how we help individuals navigate the heaviness and the muddiness of bureaucracy, and to at least, you know, we can't be on their side, but at least we can say it's not hopeless. And there are some steps, and we can maybe shine a light on the kinds of pathways that might be open to. And I think that's the most rewarding piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think I have any more questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, this has just been a pleasure, and I'll look forward to the things that might be put up on our website.
Yeah, thank you so much for meeting with me. I know all of the offices are just swamped right now, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you for reaching out.
And for everyone else who's listening, there will be more interviews to come, so look out for those. Thank you, Shirley.
Thanks so much.